Good morning, everybody. Dave here at Scale Models Midwest. Welcome back to the workbench. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours. I hope that each and every one of you had a great Christmas holiday. We did here at our household, nice and quiet. Here I am in the workbench this morning. I'm off all week, so I got a lot of things planned. First thing I've been working on has been my entry for Adam over at SoDak Model Cars, the naked group build. And these Salvinos JR kits, especially of the next-gen Camaro, Mustang, and Toyota, are perfect for this naked group build because majority of them are molded in color, like this one. This is the Erik Jones number 43 Camaro. Of course, they're switching to Toyotas next year, and we'll give them that. Petty's driven pretty much every make, so why not Toyota? Anyhow, building the Camaro, and the body and some of the ancillary pieces are molded in blue. Decals are where this will make it pop. So you get a kit like this, work on that naked group build, you won't have to worry about painting. In fact, the only thing that I've actually had to use for detail has been a black Sharpie, my 4mm chrome Molotow pen. I need to get a 2mm one for small details, and a red magic marker, as you'll see where I did that one at. Plus, I added a couple of little details on this kit. I was hoping to get wiring, but the wiring that I was looking at my local Menards, just for like jumble of wire, was a little bit too much for me to consider getting like a mix of black, blue, yellow, and red, because I wanted to kind of detail out the interior a bit more. But I did just a couple little things. The next time, I may just go out and do it. I got a local Ace Hardware. I'm going to run up there today and see what they've got. But let me just kind of show you what I got here. For starters, I'm using the Rodney Curtis chassis jig, which is awesome. Kind of lines up those bottom pieces. So I haven't put the top parts of the suspension pieces, and I'll be doing that later on today. But I've been at this now for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I have the interior pretty much buttoned up, and I want to kind of show you some. For starters, if you saw, I did have that shifter rod in there. I left it as a brass rod because, wanted to have a little bit of contrast in the interior. Everything that's black either was black molded, or in the case of the steering wheel, it was silver gray. So I used the black Sharpie and did that. Did the same thing with the rearview mirror. And as you can see, I used a red magic marker for the ignition box up here. And granted, because you're not painting it, you're going to have some little white lines, but you know what? I kind of think that looks cool for contrast. But I also did the same thing with fire extinguisher down at the bottom. Now, the one thing I did a little different on this one, I just wanted to see if I could do switches. So I looked, and I have some brass rod that was just a little too large. Okay, so I started looking, I go, what is small enough to do for switches? Here's a super cheap, easy thing to do these switches on. And I only did 3 switches. I had a 4th one, but I think I lost that part. Hot Wheels. I modify Hot Wheels cars. I put real riders on them. So I've got a bunch of these. And this right here, the axle, is perfect for the width or thickness of a switch panel, as you can see here. And I just used black Sharpie and red marker to put the switches in place. I did just 3, but I know there's more. How did I get those to fit? Well, I got these from Harbor Freight for 10 bucks, these little pin vise drill bits, and I used the brown ones to drill the holes. I started by using the yellow ones for the pilot holes, and then went to the brown ones. After that, I cut them about 1/4 inch and just kind of stuck them in there, put them in with some plastic weld, made sure they would stay in place, and then I did the black Sharpie to make sure that that ignition panel, switch panel, would kind of stand out. So hope that looks good for you. Looks good to me. I like it. And I'm just going to take a little bit of a break. Gonna get back down here to the workbench and start working on the suspension, and then later on this afternoon, decals. So after about another half hour worth of work, I have the front suspension pieces in place, and they are level, fit well within the wheel well. The detail on this, every time I build one, I love it. Just have to put a little bit of wash on it here and there. Get the tires buttoned up. I will be gluing these to the hubs. This will not be a roller, but otherwise looking good. On to the next steps. Okay, I'm at a stopping point after about 3 hours worth of additional assembly and decals, kind of alternating between the two. Wanted to kind of give you an update on what I got. I think I'll have the majority of it done tomorrow, once I've assessed various things. One, as you can see, I've got the chassis pretty much done and ready to go. The front pieces here like that, they're not in place yet. I'll get that in the morning. But the rear, got that in place. The T-tail is great. I'm going to do a bit of a panel line wash before I head upstairs. Got the rear bulkhead in place. The tires and rims I did glue in. I have BBS decals, very small, but you can see them. And I also had some, I believe, Mike's decals. I have these left rear, right rear tires. You can see, got that. There's a BBS decal. That just makes the car pop a little bit more. I've got a ton of decal sheets, like most of us with the Builders Club. So I went and I found one of my decal sheets that had a bunch of little STP decals. Because you see in those cars, the in-car cameras, I got a ton of decals all over the place. So I grabbed about 6 or 7 of them, put them in and around the car, just to kind of liven it up a bit. Again, as you can see, interior's pretty much done. I didn't do anything with the dash top. I left it blue. And again, there's the tires, rim combination, BBS rims. Pretty sharp with these decals. Clay Kemp has a great video on how to detail these even further. Someday when I go into wanting to really super detail one of these, I'll do just that. But what you can't see, probably through the rims, is I used a red Sharpie to paint the brake rotors red. Just add a little contrast. You can just barely see it. But again, no other paint on this besides that, the black Sharpie, and the Molotov chrome pen. So a couple things I'm going to recommend if you're building this kit. As you're putting together like the petty bar, just make sure the petty bar goes in place just right. Use this, but don't put it in place to make sure the petty bar sits just right, because the petty bar is also going to contain the fire extinguisher, and you just want to make sure everything's just right. There is one more bar that goes through the dashboard like that to the very front, and then from there is where the rearview mirror goes in place. So I made sure that was cut to fit, got that through the dash. Just makes it look a little sharper. Again, when I go to super detail one of these, I'll probably do even more switches, a lot more wiring, have a little bit of fun with that. Anyhow, you know, the back, bottom knee, all it is the tray. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately looks pretty good. So onto the body, show you what I've done. Now on the body, I still have some things left to do. I've got a nice little layer of Mark Fit soaking these decals so they can conform to the curves and what have you. This decal here on both sides is huge, and if you look at the decal sheet, it looks like it gets cut off towards the top. So once this dries fully, tomorrow morning I'll probably use a blade and just carefully cut the top of that off. I did have to cut a little slice there. I did that after the decal was applied, but I can touch that up. I've got some vermilion decal sheet that I can put that on. The bottom I put on after I put on the big decal. And again, these things have overlap, so Once they dry, you can just carefully file them away or use an X-Acto blade. And this is a good place to show you where. If you see right here on the back, there's an awful lot of overlap on that decal. Plus, that's right there where the spoiler is going to be. So on both of those decals, once they're dry, I'm just going to carefully use a real sharp blade and cut the excess off. This one here, I'm half tempted to suggest, because this curve is deceiving. As you can see, it still hasn't conformed yet. But like I said, I've got mark fit on it, so it'll eventually get it to, come into the curve. But I'm half tempted to say, if you can cut this decal right where the blue is to the vermilion, I would say give it a try. Cut that into 3 pieces, and then it should sit better. I don't know, I might do that next time around. I've got several of these kits because, like I said, I'm a big Petty fan. I like number 43. Just having a little fun. But the other thing is, if you notice, I didn't put all the decals on. I just put some of the large ones on, put the large ones on first, put some of the other ones on, and then walk away from the kit. Let it do its job with the mark fit or micro set, and then in the morning or the next day, go in and clean up the overlaps. You can see right there on the hood the same way. Just clean up that overlap and go back to your decaling. And as you can see, body molded in blue, the decals really make it pop. So really no paint on this is needed. You can paint these if you want, but I think if you were to paint it, yeah, I think it's TS23 light blue. So if you ever wanted to do that, you can do it. But this one again is part of the SoDak Model Cars group build for the Naked Challenge, and I think so far it's looking good. Hope you like it. I'll have an updated video tomorrow most likely, if not the next day. Take care, and hope you're building the cool kits.